Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today, we're doing our special online forum. We're going to be talking about, Google listings, navigating the August 2024 core update. We have our regular program of experts, so we're going to be talking about updates. We're going to do some question and answer. My name is Sarah Bryant, and I am the Chief Operating Officer at DBA Platform, where our mission is to get you found. And you already know that DBA is the premier software and managed services provider for optimizing local presence. And, we'd like to bring this program to you to give you an opportunity to talk about the things that you're seeing out there in the wild, whether you're an agency or a franchise. You have the need to create an online presence, and that's done today through through local being, prioritized over most other search criteria. So we're here to talk about anything that's happening in local search. And one of the favorite parts of this webinar program is the question and answer, where we'll be collecting your questions. And then we're going to give our expert, Jan, an opportunity to apply his knowledge to all your inquiries and see what we can do. So before we get started, let's make sure that you have the tools that you need to get through this Zoom webinar. You'll see in your Zoom controls that there is a question and answer box. And if you pop that thing open, separate it from your Zoom controls, you can watch that box as you view the webinar. And people will put questions in there that pertain sometimes to global issues and sometimes to specific issues that people are having. If those questions are intriguing to you, go ahead and upvote them, because then what I'll do is I'll sort them by the votes, and then I'll make sure that the most popular questions get answered during this webinar. So obviously put your questions in there, but also read other people's questions so that we can, upvote them and put them in the right order to get the best content out of today. And you do have a chat box. If you use the chat box, you're only going to be chatting with Luke, who is our webinar administrator, and Luke can help you with technical issues. And there will be a recording. We always get that question in both the question and answer box and the chat. And so we will create a recording. You will receive the recording if you got an invitation and a link to this webinar to begin with. We'll also put that in our private Facebook group, and we'll give you some information about how you can access that private Facebook group too. So let me introduce our speaker for today, a person that you know well, as do I. Jan he's a regular in our webinar series because he's a master in the local SEO universe. He's the creator of Local Falcon, which is the original Google Maps grid tracking system that is widely revered as the go-to for local SEO analysis. And Jan is also part of a very exclusive group of people who are Google Platinum product experts. And these guys actually get a chance to meet with, talk to Google. They perform a function in helping to navigate the questions that users have when it comes to Google. And so he knows a ton. So again, my name is Sarah. I'm the session concierge, and I'm just a fellow knowledge seeker in all of this. I like to get updated on what's going on. I like to hear the actual case studies of what people are seeing, and we try to figure things out in this forum. So Jan, I know you have a big core update to tell us about, and probably a bunch of other stuff too. Where should we start?
Oh yeah, thanks Sarah for the introduction. Yeah, hey everyone. I'd like to start out with the new categories. Google puts new categories or updates the names every month about. And so here are the new ones. There's not been anything new since the middle of August, basically. So these are already a month old, but physical rehab center, psychosocial therapist, rental car return location, and wire and cable supplier are the new ones. The previous month, back in July, is those previous additions there. So you can take a look and see if those make sense for you to add.
That one's super helpful. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to know where the rental car return address was. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're again, these are very specific to the industry, but they're very useful when they do get added, right? So the rental car is super important. Other other local ones, maybe tire service. So if you have a mechanic or something, that might work. Then head and neck surgeon might be okay. Psychosocial, like if you're a therapist, I don't know if they offer those ones, you can add that. So there's a bunch of new ones every month, and if you if that matches your category better than a previous one, then you change your primary category to one of these ones, and then you will get a boost because none of your competitors have changed it yet, and you have more likelihood to get ahead till they figure it out. So those are the new categories. What's also new, again, this was back in August, but you can see the release date August 14th there. So a couple of new things about reviews. This is not necessarily about Google, but it does affect the United States, I would assume, just the United States, because it's the FTC. They are going to, well, they should have already been cracking down on fake reviews, but now what they've done is they've updated their I guess their terms of what is allowed, what is not allowed. They've defined it a little bit more, so you can see my list of summary in the bottom. So fake or false consumer reviews. Obviously, you shouldn't have been doing that in the first place, but some people buy reviews. I like the celebrity testimonials. I think there's a response to like the TikTok where people are getting paid to promote a product that would come after those guys. I can't buy positive or you can't buy negative reviews. What you would buy negative reviews for competitors, I guess. Insider reviews, consumer testimonials have to be fair. Basically, you can't be paying for that kind of stuff. Company controlled review websites, so you can't start another website and pretend that these are, a third party. It has nothing to do with me, but it's really you're controlling it. Review suppression, which to me is one of the more important ones. There's a lot of companies that say, "Oh, we'll remove your bad reviews if you pay us $500 a review." Like they're really expensive usually, and what they do is they'll go through the normal flagging process. Whoa, what's going on? And then let me come back. My mouse went crazy. I wasn't even touching it. The review suppression, yeah. So these companies, they hire lawyers and they do their lawyer thing, and they either scare the reviewer to remove it, things like that. So those guys might be affected with this. And obviously the FTC has to actually come after people. They would have to publicize things, and people have to get scared, because what's the chance that FTC is really going to come after you? Probably very low. I've heard of a few cases where one where it was in Arizona, I think it was a doctor or a physician, where he was buying lots and lots of positive reviews, and he got a huge fine for doing that. And I've seen some, if you put reviews on your own website, so let's say you have a feed on your website and it's pulling in your Google reviews automatically. I've seen some plugins that say, "Oh, well, only pull in the ones that are 4 and 5 star, but don't pull in the feed that's 1, 2, or 3 star," right? And so what you're presenting to the user or the website visitor is saying, "Oh, these are all our reviews," but they're not really all our reviews. They're just selecting the ones they want to show, like through that automated feed, but it's filtered. I saw a couple companies get in trouble for doing that as well. So I think across the board, just be a little bit, if you're doing anything a little bit iffy, like just be more careful. And then on the back of that, so that was last month, Google now just this week, starting in England, is adding this note here, so on the actual profile, basically saying, "Hey, we think some of these reviews on this profile are fake, so you should be more careful when you read them." It'll probably remove what it thinks it's fake, but it's still leaving the note saying, "Hey, this guy was getting fake reviews." And so that's obviously not good. This is new, just rolled out. I don't know how this is going to play out. Obviously, there could be false positives. Like I didn't get any false, I didn't buy any reviews. Why am I getting flagged, right? So there's an appeal process that you can do. You'll have 30 days to appeal this, and if you don't appeal it, then other bad things can happen to your listing. Unknown right now what can happen. And so this to me is kind of like, well, what if I go and buy fake reviews for a competitor? Will they get flagged and have this, note on their listing? It's kind of, we don't know how it's going to play out. When Google rolls things out, they usually don't get it 100% right. But this is something to be careful of. They're testing it in the UK right now, and eventually it'll go, global. So it's something to be careful of if you are buying fake reviews, or, a lot of times people get reviews at their place of business. Oh, can you fill out, they're doing their transaction and they ask for the review, and then they're using the internet of your restaurant or something to leave the review, and Google says, hey, there's 20 people using the same internet connection to leave a review. That looks shady. That sometimes gets flagged as well. And those reviews right now are just getting filtered. We can imagine Google is filtering a bunch of reviews, and if it's filtering it, they think that's fake, and then you get this note on your listing. That's going to hurt business, right? So you'll get an email.
That would look terrible.
Yeah, you'll get an email if this ever comes up. So again, it's still in the testing process phase. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out.
Yeah, Crystal had a question about this on the reviews, and I'm not sure that I totally understand it, but she says, if you have an obvious fake review that Google hasn't removed, do you think it's a good idea to have it removed with the suspected fake reviews message at the top, or is it better to ignore it?
Yeah, I've never tried to remove a fake like 5-star review. Usually you just, oh, okay, it's there, you just leave it. So my assumption is if it didn't get filtered, then Google thinks it's real, like it's legit. So you may not even realize, unless you're buying it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm buying 10 reviews and only one of them showed up. That means I know that 9 got filtered and the system is catching me, right? But otherwise, people leave reviews all the time and you don't know that they've left a review, and a lot get filtered and you don't even realize.
Yeah, I wonder why Crystal says it's an obvious fake review, like obviously she knows it's fake for some reason that we don't know, but
yeah, sometimes the local guides program, the people just want to get their points and they'll just leave reviews wherever just to get their points up. They never actually
the local reviewers.
Yeah, they just want their free socks when they get to certain levels.
Gotcha.
The point system, they get freebies and free socks and free movie tickets and things like that. So they just start leaving reviews.
I see.
Reviews like usually they. Yeah, you
see. It's because Crystal says it's because it was a 1-star review by somebody in another country that wasn't a customer.
Oh yeah, well, look, I mean, you're probably trying to get those ones removed anyway.
Yeah.
The fake 1-stars. So yeah, I guess this gives you a better incentive to try to get rid of those. Again, I think.
So I see what she's saying. I think what she's saying then is if I go to Google and say, hey, I've got a fake review, then what's going to happen is this caution symbol, that you have up on the screen is going to show up. So you're getting rid of the 1-star review, but the downside is that this banner is
no. Well, again, I don't know how it's going to work, but I doubt it because this is going to be automated. So when you go to support and say, hey, I got a fake review, can you take it off? That's not going to tie into the system.
This banner is more like for people who were buying good reviews and Google cracked down on them. Yeah, I gotcha.
I don't think it's going to be fake.
Of course, one never knows until one sees it.
I'm sure there's going to be all kind of edge cases. Again, Google, the way Google does things is like, oh, this is working for 95% of the businesses. We're good. But 5% of, millions and millions of listings across the world is still hundreds of thousands of listings that might get impacted negatively, right? So
another quick question, a little about reviews again from Anonymous. Says this is a little off topic, but it pertains to reviews. What do you do if the business name has changed do you flag those reviews to be removed for misinformation?
So if the business name changed, so let's say like a restaurant, and then you're buying the restaurant and you change the name, you're supposed to close the previous one and open a new one. If the business hasn't changed completely, like you're just buying a new business, and the business is functionally the same business, then those reviews should, like, you keep the same listing, the reviews should stay. So there's either, if it's a brand new, you create a new listing, you get new reviews. If it's the same, even if the business is like, you had an owner from 3 years ago that was really crappy, was doing a bad job, and you bought the business, and now it's under new ownership, and you're really trying, you can't get those reviews removed. Like, it's in the, I don't have the guidelines up here, but you can't, it's like, too bad for you. You bought that business and it came with that baggage. Yeah.
All right. One more. Isaac asked a question. He asked it in the webinar chat for Luke instead of in the Q&A box, but he said, what about the review filter plugins for the website that you were talking about? You're saying that the website can get penalized for using them, or the company that develops the plugin gets in trouble?
No, so that would be for the FTC one. If you ever get, I guess, reported, it's your website. You're filtering the reviews. You're not supposed to filter reviews. So, like, I want to show a review on my website. I'm going to pick one. I'm going to say, here's a 5-star. I'm going to put it near my, on whatever form. But if you have a page that says, here's all our reviews, and you have a plugin that's pulling them in, but it's not really all your reviews, it's just all your good reviews, but you say it's all your reviews, now you're lying and you're falsifying information to a potential buyer. That's where you get in trouble. So it's on your website, you're doing it, you're at fault if you're doing that. So you can't really set, what I guess the idea is, don't, in that case, don't say it's all your reviews when it's not all your reviews. You can say, here's all our good reviews, right?
Can you do that? Can you just say, like, here's some of our happy customers, or something like that?
Yeah, you could do that. What you can't do is represent, like, these are,
that it's all of them.
This is everything. This is all the information that we're presenting to you. So it's lying. I think, it was a website about some cosmetics or something like that, and they were only pulling in only the good ones, and they had thousands and thousands. So they're like, oh, they're all good, but there was also lots of bad ones that they were not showing. And all right, we're good. I'm good at that. Again, this is new. We'll see how it plays out. We might talk about it next month a little bit more if it rolls out to more countries. Let's go over some of the bugs and issues here. So delays in reinstatement. So if anyone got suspended, you might have had a 2 to 3 week delay. It's still potentially a couple, like, if you get suspended now, it still might take you 10 days to get your listing back. I'm hearing different reports. Some people say it's coming in 2 days, and some people are saying it's coming in 2 weeks. So it's a little bit sporadic, but there's still, usually should be three to 5 days, but it's been a lot longer than that this past month. So that could be affecting you. If the appeal process tool says submitted, and again, I don't have an example here, but if it says submitted in that tool thing, then you got to wait. If it's over 30 days, then you could go to the support forum. That's probably, you got lost in a glitch somewhere. If it's over 30 days, but if it's under 30 days and it says submitted, you got to wait. The review reporting tool. So if, let's say, you get a bad review and you go through the process tool, there's a couple ways to report reviews. You can flag them, like, through the normal front end dashboard, but there's also a tool that you can use to report a review. You go through that, you report it. It's supposed to keep it in, and tells you, like, oh, this is in process, we're being checked. And then if it gets approved or denied, it'll say, like, it's done. But a lot of times you do that and it never shows up anywhere. So you don't know, did they check it? Did they not check it? So that's kind of a pain in the ass. The normal time frame, if you report a review and it's not taken down in 3 days, they've probably already looked at it. So usually when you report a review, it's 2 to 3 days, because I've done it. I did it last week with a bunch. I had one listing that had 10 bad reviews, and I reported them, and 6 of them came down within 24 hours. And so that means, and then I re-reported those 4 left over, and that was last week. They didn't come down. So if it's within a day or so, hasn't come down, they're not taking it down. You can escalate, but that's the normal way.
So there was a question about that came up. We've tried to report a 1-star review that is obviously not a customer of our client, but Google is not doing anything. Should we continue to report it? So would you say, based on what you said there, maybe report it twice and then you're done?
I would report it 2 times in the normal flagging, and if it's still not down, you can bring it to the Google community forum. And then if it's really, but it really has to break the rules overtly, right? It really has to be like, I used to work here, and the owner is a bad person. Employees or former employees are not allowed to leave reviews, and so it's literally in the text up, like, I used to work here, while you're breaking rules, right? So it has to be very obvious. If it's just like, oh, that guy never worked, never, I don't know who that is, they just left a 1-star review randomly, and there's no proof within the text of what they've written, then it probably won't come down. Even though it's fake, Google doesn't know it's fake. The worst are the people that leave 1-star reviews and don't say anything. There's no text. Those are so hard to come down, because there's nothing inherently in that review that breaks rules, unless the system catches them and they're leaving 1-star reviews for lots and lots of businesses, and as Google says, oh, that user is breaking rules, and then the user gets thrown out and all his reviews get thrown out too. So
yeah, so it's worth reporting it, because there might be some substantiation that Google can find.
Yeah.
But then if it doesn't come down, escalate it only if it's a egregious breaking of the rules that you can substantiate. And I'm getting questions about where to report that stuff. So I heard you say 2 things. One is, use the review flagging process. And then the other one is use the community forum to escalate things that are a problem. Yeah. And how do people find those places?
Oh, I don't have the link. I don't know if Luke, you have the forum link, but yeah, there's a process. I would have to kill my screen to be able to find it for you guys, but I'll maybe.
Well, what if we do this? What if we add it to the recording communication that goes out, and then maybe what we can do too is we could put a blog up on our website that gives you all of those links and stuff for where to report things for Google. So Luke, maybe you can do that, and we'll put it out in our newsletter next month.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll find them while we're in the middle of this thing here. So I'll keep going, and I'll get them in the chat soon. And then lost reviews after suspension. So we keep it. There's a lot of review stuff this month. So this is normal. So just it's normal to not have your reviews on your listing. If you're suspended and then you get reinstated, your reviews don't show up right away. They usually take a day or 2 to reconnect. So the reviews are held in a different database, and your listing comes back live, and it takes 24, 48 hours for like the system to be like, oh, okay, it's back live, we're going to reconnect it, right? So it's normal not to see your reviews after you come back live. Sometimes if you've been suspended for a long time, like over a month or even 2 months, some people wait a long time, and the reviews don't come back. They don't reconnect automatically after 2 days or within 2 days. Go to, again, the support forum and say, hey, my reviews are not here. But don't do it. You got to wait 2 days, at least wait 2 days, 3 days before you do that, because that's the normal thing. But if it's more than 3 days, I would start to get concerned that the reviews are getting lost somewhere. So I would contact.
So what you're saying is it's normal for the reviews not to be connected immediately to a reinstated profile, but after 2 or 3 days, then you probably have to take an action. And Yulia is saying, is it possible to get back reviews if the business was reinstated 1 to 2 weeks ago and there's still no reviews and the listing was suspended for a total of 3 weeks?
The review should come back. Like, that's not out of the ordinary. That's normal, especially with the suspension delays. It's been taking 2-3 weeks. So that's normal. The review should come back within 2 days.
Okay, so since the reviews didn't come back and it's been a week or 2, Yulia probably
Definitely,
needs
yeah, reach out
to
to
go
support, because
reach out.
if you wait too long, then the reviews, I don't know, they get lost and they can never come back. They're like too bad for you.
Is that your technical answer? I don't know. They go somewhere and they never come back.
They disappear in the Google ether.
Yeah,
That's
Google Ether.
yeah. And then lastly, we have the Q&A got turned off in some South Asian countries like India and Indonesia, in that area of the world, because there was crazy spam. Basically, people were spamming and abusing it and putting phone numbers for different businesses in, and Google said, yeah, we don't know how to fix this right now. Let's just turn it off. So hopefully, again, spammers don't come.
So that means users in some South Asian countries will not be able to put up information in Q&A.
They won't even see it. Like the Q&A section is gone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they won't even have the ability to see anything. Even if you had stuff before that was good, it's not visible anymore. All right. Any other questions?
Well, we have one new one that came in from Don. If you're planning a move, are we better off telling Google, since they will likely suspend us, or wait to get caught? We have a let's see, home service company, don't show address.
Okay, so that's a little bit on the side, but a couple of things to think about before you move a business. And I'm going to go general, and then I'll go more specific. Before you move a business, make sure you have all the paperwork for that new address, because unless you're moving a listing within the same zip code, you're going to get suspended. So because Google has to re-verify at that new location, because they know you exist here, but they don't know that you exist there yet. So if you move, you're going to, most of the time, you're going to get suspended, right? Unless it's within a very close proximity. I've done it once where I moved it and it was just a couple blocks, and Google said, yeah, okay, you're good, right? But normally you're going to get suspended if you change the address, whether you're SAB or not SAB. So have your paperwork ready for that new place. So if you're a home service, you probably don't have your signage up. You don't have you know all the normal, the visual cues that you would have, like a directory board or things like that. You might be at your house because you moved your house, and now we're moving our house. Change the information at the business of like the state registry, right? Because now Google say, oh, you moved, prove that you're at this new place. And then you're going to be like, oh, well, my state business license is registered to my old place. Now I have to change it. Now you got to go ask the state of Nebraska to update it. And that's going to take 30 days. And
while you're suspended, right?
And you're suspended this whole time. So change your paperwork before, and then change the Google listing.
Okay, so wait until you can substantiate everything. And even though service area businesses may not show an address in the profile, they still have an address in the back end. So it's probably not a big issue to wait, but eventually once you get everything straightened out, then you want to go in there, fix it, and substantiate the move.
Yeah, so I would, so wait. So it's not like getting caught. It's like you're just not ready to do that. I wouldn't, you're there, you're a legit business. So I wouldn't say like you move. So the other thing to also keep in mind is once you move your address, that's your new, if we talk about our local ranking bubbles and our visibility bubbles, like from the grid tracking tools, that center of your strength is going to move to that new location.
So your radius changes,
the center, that bubble is going to move. And so if you're moving, from a city and you're going to a suburb, and now you're not going to rank where you used to be, and now where you want your jobs may not be at the same place. So there's a consideration of that, or in the overall business side, marketing. All right, and we'll keep going. So the core update. So we're going to talk about the organic a little bit more, because there hasn't been too much coming up with local. It started in August, on August 15th, ran for about 3 weeks. It ended on the 3rd, and so it's been about 2 weeks that the update is over. And in general, we had that March update, so we'll go backwards one update. In the March, the HCU, the helpful content update is what they called it back in March, where It really killed a lot of sites and really dialed up the brand and really dialed up all kinds of things to what people say, like they're killing small sites and small blogs and things like that. So this undid a little bit, but not really. I think they're still having trouble. Google is still having trouble with what to do, and of course, different categories and different industries are getting impacted differently. Here's a couple. I started looking up. So like, what are the takeaways of this update? And these are just a couple of things. So increased emphasis on quality content. So improve your content, improve the quality of your websites, the same stuff that we've been hearing forever. And then someone else, another website says, no, there's a shift toward the user-centric content and engagement, and it favored consumer-based information, and user-generated content. So that's basically Reddit, and Reddit went up over the summer, and it's still up over this update. So Google hasn't really changed that too much. But this is, when you look at these two quotes here, it's a little bit contradictory, where Google wants good content, but then it's also showing a lot of user-generated content, which can be good, but it may not always be good, especially when you're looking for something and then you see a Reddit thread from 10 years ago and you're like, that's not relevant anymore, Google. Why are you showing it to me? And so, or for medical, like, hey, something, what is this thing that's on my leg? And then Reddit comes up and you're like, well, that doesn't really help me. I wanted a medical website, right? So,
well, I think what these two things have in common is they're saying putting up content just to put up content, like keywords, just to generate content, especially probably as we get into AI and the ability to generate content, faster. And both of these are saying that the content needs to be useful to the consumer, to the people who are looking it up. Like, it's got to answer their questions. It's got probably, has to be like useful, relevant content for what they're looking for, versus just a lot of content to stuff websites to look like you have more content, which, has always been a strategy, is to put up more and more content. But now it's really about, getting to the point, helping people make a decision. We do have a question from Anonymous, who is asking who is being quoted in these two quotes.
Yeah, it wasn't a specific person. I just grabbed these from some websites. So this is just text from a couple websites that were I felt I read a lot, so I would just grab these. So I don't have a person. Sorry.
Do we have any idea like how how Google is doing it? So they're saying, hey, we're skewing toward this type of content. Did they say anything about how they're doing it? They never say, but
I think the freshness. I mean, I think so. We'll step back a little bit. That's not mentioned here is Google has been favoring brands, and that's what happened with the HCO with the March update. Is really, if you had a strong brand, then your website is powerful, and we're going to show you no matter what. So there's people complaining about like Forbes. Why is Forbes ranking for like where to buy a toaster? Right? Forbes has nothing to do with toasters. There should be a toaster website, for example. There's a conversation that was on Twitter, on X, as an example, where why is Forbes ranking for everything? Right? They're not an expert. There's other people that are better experts, but Forbes has a huge brand and lots of links, and so Google is favoring them. That was in HCO. So I think it's trying to get away from that, but it doesn't know how. Google doesn't know how to balance the brand, where you want to show up for a brand, but also show up for real answers, because the brand is going to give you the marketing stuff, but Reddit is going to give you the real stuff. I mean, there's
real
a lot
feedback,
of there's a lot of fake engagement on Reddit now. That Reddit is everywhere. There's tons of bots and tons, so you have to still go through that. But in general, so there's a balance between a legit website and here's a user, generated thing. It's a very, very difficult balance to do. And some industries, it might be different than others on how it's skewing. medical probably should go more for WebMD, and less Reddit, you know what I mean? And then in other things, on game, role-playing games, it should be more on Reddit because that's where all the people are hanging out in those forums, right? So it really depends, and it probably very difficult to get that through. So here's a tweet that I just pulled in a couple tweets. Sorry, it might be a bit blurry, but basically the HCU in March basically killed this guy's site, and then you wait, and now the core update started in August, and he said, I didn't do anything. And it just fixed itself. So like, what do? Like, that's super frustrating, because basically Google turned the dial and it didn't like your site, and now it turned it back, and now you're good. So if that didn't happen to you, right? If that didn't happen to you, then we got to figure out what to do, right? Because I'll show you an example later, but here's another one where this guy, his site just started the downward decline, and then you can't really see the date there, but his site didn't come back from the new update. Basically, he said, yeah, I was losing everything on my site anyway, so I'm just gonna update every single one of my URLs to remove the words from the URL. So in WordPress, you can have a post ID number. So instead of like saying, oh, my homepage slash keyword near me or whatever it is, he just put like post equals number 2 or post number 3. So he took and he saw a lift from that.
Why?
So why? Well, one of the things in the previous update was that Google was, besides improving brands and improving user-generated content, it was also hurting sites that were too optimized. So, and I don't know how that's being measured by Google, but basically, if you're keyword stuffing too much, if you're too many pages about the same thing, I don't know if you know, like if you go to the people also ask questions, and you'll just see variations of the same question over and over, and you're just creating a new page. So AI can do this for us now. It's like, what are the top 10 things? What are the top 12? What are the top 15? Like, it could just create, infinite amount of articles about like stupid variations,
Right.
just to try to hit every single keyword. So if your site fell into that, and it wasn't necessarily AI, but it could have been that you were just really, really doing all the stuff that worked before for SEO. And now Google says, oh, now you're doing stuff just for SEO. We don't like your site anymore. So in this case, and I went through the thread and I don't have it here, but basically people asked questions, and basically he had his site was about one topic, and all his URLs basically had that keyword in his URL. So he had too many pages with the same keyword in it, which might have been over optimized. He just undid all that, and all of a sudden he started coming. Now it's possible that Google's recrawling all the URLs and everything. So I put the update. He gave an update on the 13th there, so that's 3 weeks later, and you can see it even went higher. So that's an interesting thing about the over optimization, and that was his URL structure. I have one more thing to share for myself here. So this is my own testing. I had a website, and you could see at the beginning of the update in the beginning of August, we have our downward trend. We probably went from around 10, it was sitting at 17. And what this site was doing, and this was one of my sites, so what this site had done before was, again, before I came in, they had used this plugin called Link Whisper, or Whisperer. And I'm not saying anything bad about it, but what that plugin on WordPress allows you to do, it says like, oh, every time you see this keyword or this phrase, link it automatically. So this site had about 500 pages, and basically the Link Whisperer got turned on. It says, okay, when it says keyword 1 plus keyword 2 together, link to the homepage. And so it had 84 internal links going back to the homepage with this exact match anchor text. And this is the exact match, it's the keyword that I'm testing here. So with the idea of like, oh, if you're over optimized, Google doesn't like you anymore. I took those off and I went from 84 to 5. So basically I just left it on the pillar pages, my 5 pillar pages. That made sense to link back to the homepage. But all my blog pages, not mine, but my clients' blog pages, all these blog pages that like were random things that linked back to the homepage in the content with this, I took them out. And I asked Google to recrawl as many pages as I could. And within 2 days, I went back up from 17 back to 10, 9, back to where it was before. So I would have liked to see a higher lift, but this is after, you know, the update ended on the 3rd. I did all the stuff on the 4th, and then 2 days later, I saw a lift. So again, another example of removing the over optimization. Again, this is only for organic. The problem is this might go against a little bit of what the local does, because, and I haven't tested it yet for local, because local takes a little bit more time to see results. So you do something on your website, it doesn't impact like it does in organic. Organic, you see the shift in 2 days. With local, like with the grid, with the maps rankings, those can take weeks for it to show up. And then there's more variation. It's harder to get clear testing out of that. Problem with local is
well, in local, each competitive group is so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's so many other factors affecting local, and it's a smaller subset, so the variations are broader. It's hard to get a reliable, valid test in local.
Yeah. And the longer something is, the harder it is. So what I've been doing for local is really been keyword, like adding a lot of keywords to my URL. So I'm going to be like homepage, you know, if I have a landing page, it's going to be like keyword 1 plus keyword 2 near me, right? I'm really adding all those keywords in my URL string if that's my landing page, if I have multi-location, for example. And that's really been helping. And so the keyword stuffing in that, or over optimization, if you will, with anchor text and strong anchor text with the actual like keywords in it, have been really helping for local. But now it seems if you're doing it too much, it's going to hurt you for organic. So now it's what do I do, right? So it really depends on what's your priority. Again, I need a lot more testing for this to play out, but for sure, if you're over optimized for organic, it's hurting you. You could try to reduce slowly. In this case, this was the 3rd most competitive keyword. Like this is their 3rd main keyword. I didn't try on the first, because the first and 2nd ones were stuff too, not as badly as this one, but this was his 3rd most converting keyword. And so I figured that would be safer than their 1st most converting keyword. So every site's going to be a little bit different, obviously, but this is just my own example. And you know, if we go back to something like this, that one's the URLs. Mine was the actual anchor text, internal linking anchor text. So go ahead. I think there's a question.
Yeah, Crystal asked, it sounds like you're saying less is more, but on the other hand, improving content creates more keywords and content. Is it more that updating core pages with new content is ideal, while things like blog posts on various topics is becoming less impactful?
Yeah, it's hard to generalize in this. My takeaways from here, and I'm still working on this site to try to get this higher, because they should be higher. Like they have tons of links, and I just don't know why they're sitting at 9, 10 when they should be 3rd, because they have links, like they have a stronger link profile than any of the competitors that are ranking better than them. So that's why I'm playing around with their website. But yeah, I think in this case, it was too many exact match anchor text coming from.
It's sort of gross over content. You know what I mean? Like when you spin something up in AI and say, give me, you know, let's say you're, you know, I don't know, electrician. And so you say, give me, you know, 50 articles all on the same topic about wiring homes, but make them all slightly different. And you can really tell that stuff when, you know, when people are trying to, and as a reader, when you go to those pages, it's the same content over and over, you know, anchor text linked to the other articles. You can kind of see that stuff. So, but the answer is always Google is trying to create a real reflection of reality. So every tool that we use to try to beat the game, eventually Google is going to get onto that tool, and they're going to, find a way to say, we're going to handicap you a little bit because of this. And so answering good questions, taking time to develop good question and answer for consumers, cleaning up your stuff, is always going to be the right answer. Google's always going to reward reality.
Yeah, it's super hard, and I think this is where the standard, it's very difficult, because like, oh, well, put your keywords in the URL, put your keywords in your title tag, put your keywords in the H1 and the H2. But now, and I have other examples where people have, like, they've removed the keyword from their H1 and changed their title tag, and all of a sudden they pop back up, and you're like, well, like, it's not over optimized. I'm trying to make, this is what the topic is about, so why shouldn't I put it in my, like, it makes sense to do it, but then there's a threshold where, nope, you're over the threshold, too bad, boom, you get nailed, right? So less is more, but the problem is,
well, and Google's trying to decide where it would have happened naturally. How many times would it have appeared naturally if you were just writing about a topic versus your precognition to add keywords to the content?
Yeah, but it's hard. I think it's going to be very specific to the site, and that's where you have to go back to who's ranking first, second, third. That's in your, in your area there for that keyword, that's similar to your site, right? So you have to be careful, like, who's ranking first, if it's a Yelp or if it's a HomeDepot.com or something like that. Like, you ignore those ones. You have to look for the ones that are similar, like small businesses like yours, and who's ahead of you and what do they do. Like in this case, the second and third, their sites look to me like they're garbage. Like, they're not optimized, they're poor, they're barely like doing anything. There's no links back to the home page, and they all say home on it. It's just from the main menu, basically. And you're like, why are like, what the heck is going on? And so,
because Google's like, well, these guys didn't do anything and they're still in business, and so
yeah, so it's hard. So we gotta undo. Yeah, so I'm undoing things that I did last year, right? So I'm like, so, and it's really hard as the SEO, because you want to optimize, and now we're like, oh, now I got to undo the work that I did last year. It worked, it made my site higher, but now it's working.
Okay, but let's go back to the idea that this is about organic SEO and not local SEO. And if you are a local business, local SEO is way more important, because you need to show up, in the map section. Showing up organic, you probably didn't to begin with, and now it got a little worse, but whatever, right? I mean, the local is where it's at. And Yulia is asking a question and kind of pointing to this, like, the things that I'm doing to get results in local, you're saying not to do. Well, so her question is having on the local business website pages like keyword plus city 1, keyword plus city 3, etc., hurts SEO now? Because for maps, this way helped in my
and that's what I was saying. It does help. I think, if you have 5 pages, if you have 10 pages, and it's that keyword plus city, I think you're fine. I think if you're getting into a large site, or if you have a blog and it says the same keyword on your blog 100 times, it's in your URL structure, and then it's in your location pages, I think that could potentially hurt you. Again, it's hard to know where that limit is, because I don't know where the limit is, and I think it's going to be different for everything. So I guess what I'm saying is just be aware that this is how the system seems to be working now. And if you're struggling, like this site has been struggling, for example, and this site has been struggling for months, and then they undid some stuff, they tested basically, then and they saw a lift. So, and this is where we get into issues like, okay, for years and years and years, I have what I have to do, and I know what I have to do, and it's the standard optimized title tab. but now we have to force ourselves to think a little bit different. Says, maybe I did too much, because before doing too much never hurt you, but now doing too much can hurt you. And so that's where we have to be careful as SEOs to just not go to the normal default. I got to optimize more, right? Sometimes we have to undo, we have to reduce. So it's a testing thing. So
yeah, it's a crazy game. It's like chess. Like
yeah,
as you progress through the game, you got to rethink every step you took.
yeah,
That's
that's
why
true.
that's why SEO experts and agencies do this for locations, because they're chess experts. They're looking at the moves that are happening on the other side of the board, and they're reacting to them, and trying to work every day to get the companies that they work for, get those rankings optimized, get them up, get them found, because we know you have to be visible in order to make anything happen.
All right, last, so this is local. So this is new. I noticed this pattern. I don't have too many examples yet. So here's just one. So basically, if this is a trend of local Falcon, and I cut stuff out so I just so to make it easier because it was a big graph here. But basically, in this last scan from the last 2 weeks, you can see a dramatic decrease in a bunch of these listings, basically. And this is the average. So this is not the visibility. This is the average. So we have all our pins. So I don't have the graph up here, the pin graph up here. But basically, what we're doing is over time, there's been pretty steady. You can see all these lines are fairly steady. Some of them started to move up. But in the last scan from the last 2 weeks, so this is after the algorithm update basically ended, you can see that there's a bunch that all of a sudden dropped down pretty dramatically, and other ones kept going up. But you'll notice that the ones that dropped down were the ones that were already at the bottom, and the ones that went up were already at the top, right? So they kind of more divergence is happening. So you didn't see one at the top dropping all the way through, right? You see it kind of separated the streams there from the top kept going up, the bottom kept going down. And then here is basically, what I'm looking at here. All the ones, and I didn't just cherry pick. These are all the ones that I'm showing you here. If we look at the ATRP, I don't know, it's a little bit small here, but this row here, you'll see all the ones that were already ranking high kept going up. So this is just another way to visualize the data. And the ones that
What
were
is
low.
ATRP?
Oh, the ATR is the average. So let's say you have a 7x7 grid, and then we have and there's rankings for each one of those points. This is the
So the
average.
numbers are different all over the grid, yeah. And
Yeah,
so that averages it.
this averages it. So the average for the guy that was first went even higher this last scan, and so on. And the ones that were already low fell down more. So that's something if you're running grid scans to see, because what happens is like, oh, why did I go down? Why did I go up? Or why did someone go up? So there's a lot of variables obviously in here, but one of the things I'm looking at is, imagine you have your ranking bubbles, and if you're already strong, what happens if you have your visibility and your visibility goes, Google turns the dial, and all the guys that were already strong got bigger, their visibility grew, and everyone who was weaker got pushed out, they shrunk. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes if you imagine this graph going back the other way, where there's some really strong listings and some really weak listings, and then all of a sudden they kind of all
Cross streams. Yeah.
go average, and they all kind of look very similar. They're all in the middle together. That means everyone's bubble. Google is like, let's shrink everyone, right? So in this case, it looks like if you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do, have, getting your reviews and optimizing your profile and all that stuff, seems to be rewarding. Google's like saying, oh, we'll give you more space. And usually the guys who are ranking already lower, they're not getting as many reviews, they're not posting their pictures, maybe their website isn't as optimized, or they don't have as many citations, and Google says, oh, well, we don't like that as much, so we're going to drop it. So look at the patterns, not only for you, because if I just look at myself, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I went up. But if you come back to local Falcon and you click, all your competitors a bunch of, I think Local Falcon will default to the top 5, but go down to 10, go and click all of them, and see, are there patterns in these trends? And then we can get an idea of, was it me, or was it the whole system, or all of my competitors changing things?
Crystal has a question about that as it relates to new businesses coming into this local effects grid that you're showing. So
Yeah.
do you think that the local effects trend that you're showing means that it's even harder for brand new businesses and websites to start ranking because they're going to be starting from the bottom?
It's possible. Usually there's a little bit of a boost when you get a new listing. Google will boost you a little bit. And then if you start to get review and your review velocity is okay, then it'll kind of keep you there, but it'll like start you out. And then if you don't do anything with your listing, it'll fall back down. It kind of gives you a chance, because after that, then it's a lot of click-through rate. So if you're already first, it's easy to stay first because people are clicking, as long as your review ratings make sense, right? So Google kind of gives new listings a little bit of a chance to get visibility. Not all the time, depends on the competition and the category. But yeah, I mean, the first thing would be to get reviews, is the first thing to do, because even if you're visible, let's say you're ranking, and you're in the 3-pack and you're number 2, but someone has 100 views and you have 5, you're not going to get, you might be ahead of someone, but no one's going to call you first, right?
All right, we have one more pretty specific question about Local Falcon, and then we're going to wrap up. Did you get through everything you wanted to get through?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, so last question. Anonymous says, this might be off topic. When analyzing the Local Falcon in a 9x9 grid, 8-mile radius, should I be looking at the ATRP, the ARP, or the solve?
So I look at the ATRP, which is the average of everything. ARP just shows you the average, not counting like the 20s. I don't usually look at that one. It's useful in very rare scenarios. So ATRP is important if you want to see if you're increasing overall the visibility. So sometimes you can increase your average by a little bit, but your visibility goes up, because if you go from 4th place to 3rd place, now your visibility is large, because now you're in the 3-pack in 3rd place. Whereas, so you went from 4 to 3,
yeah,
your average didn't go up that much, but your visibility exploded, because now you're, if you have a lot of pins like that. So I do look at those two. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Luke could maybe drop the link into the chat for the Facebook
Oh, yeah,
group.
I have it here. Where do I get the hosts and panelists? Okay, here's the workflow for the reviews. So this is how you check your reviews, and you can report reviews that are like 1 star, and that'll be in the system, and you can keep track of that. So you can
That's
do it
the place you go to flag bad reviews on your own stuff.
Yeah, it's better, because you should be able to see if you got an answer or not. If you flag it through the normal, like you just go to maps and you flag a review, it can work, but you won't know if it got checked or not.
Right. Okay. So and Luke threw that link in there too. So Luke has given here some links for you on contacting sales if you need some help with DBA platform and how DBA can help you manage your locations at scale. We didn't talk about ads today. We've been talking about listings, about optimizing listings. But if you need help doing any of this at scale, either through our managed services or our automated platform, you can contact our sales department. If you have further questions about scenarios and you want help from somebody like Jan about these global questions, join our Facebook group, which it's a private group, but you can knock on the door and we'll let you in. And then you can also have the link there for our newsletter. We have a huge knowledge base of articles and things about all of this stuff over time, and we continually update it based on feedback. I'm going to suggest to our marketing department that we put together a Google support link section in our blog and in our knowledge base, and so you can get our articles there. And then obviously the review support link in case you are having the problem with like fake reviews and you want to report them. Now you know how, and now you have the link to do it. So thank you everybody for joining us. We do this webinar every month. The topic changes, go back and forth between listings and ads and other things that are happening in the Google, Bing, Apple world, in mostly related to local listings to help get you found if you have local businesses that you manage. Thank you so much for joining us, Jan. Thank you again.
Thank you.